Hello and welcome to another session in the Scala series. In this session, we look at two basic concepts called as method overloading and method overriding. Very simple concepts and very similar to each other. So let's understand with a basic example. So here I am at the package that we are writing our code. So I'll create an object. So I'll call it as obj method overriding or method overloading. So we have the object, and the first thing is, as usual, we should have the main function. So we have the object created, we have the main function created, right? So what I'll do here is, before this object, I'm going to create a class. So let me call it as parent class so that we understand the concept easily. So a simple method I'm going to create a hello method. It will have one argument, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to print that one. So let's say hello and then name. So I'm going to pass name to this method and I'm going to print hello and whatever the name value of that name that is being passed. So a simple class, right? Parent class. Now what I will also do here is I'm going to create another class. I'll say a subclass, which is basically going to extend the parent class, right? So I'm just gonna extend this parent class right away. At this time, I'm not going to write anything. So what I'll do here is I'm going to create an object to this class, the subclass. So I'll say sub new subclass, right? So we know the concept of your inheritance, right? So the subclass is extending the parent class. So subclass does not have any code in it, but because it is extending the parent class, all the code which is in parent class are accessible in the subclass, right? So let me see this. So and I say sub dot, so object dot, you will see hello, which is basically a function or a method in the parent class. Because that method is being extended, or that class is being extended by the subclass, you will see that method in the subclass as well. So I'm going to pass a name here. I'm gonna say John. So I will execute this. So what will happen is this will go here, the subclass, because it is extending the parent class. So it is going to pass this name here and it is going to print this message. So hello John, right? So John is the name that we have passed. So this is great. Now what I can do here is I can pretty much copy the same function here in the subclass, right? So what is happening here is, now I have a parent class and I have a subclass. Both of them have the same hello message. So just to make it a little different, I'm going to add hello, my name is, right? Anyway, so you have a subclass, you have a parent class, both of them have the same hello method, right? So if you see here, right, the left side, you see something called as, there's a green button or a symbol. If you hover over it, you will see override Scala parent class, right? So this is a concept of overriding. When you have a same method, in this case our method name is hello, and same arguments, basically we would have to override, which when we say override, whatever code that we are writing here, that has to be overwritten here, right? So that's how we do the override. So for that we have to specify it as override. So when we specify it as override, which means, okay, I know there is a hello method, but then when you call this subclass, the hello method from the parent is going to override, and then whatever is there in the subclass, that particular method is what it is going to print it out, or it is going to get executed, right? So this is the concept of method overriding. So if I go ahead and execute this one more time, now you can see here it has changed to hello, my name is John, which is basically the method in the subclass. So this is a concept of method overriding. And where is it useful? So let's say you have you have the same method in multiple different places, and then at any particular point of time you want to override the previous methods, right? So that's where you use the override. Instead of creating a new method, you basically override the code which is present in the previous way. So that's the concept of method overriding, right? There's another concept called as method overloading. Now, how is method overloading different from method overriding? So in method overriding, you have the same method and you have the same arguments. Here you have just one argument. Similarly, you have the same argument here. In overloading, what happens is that you have the same method, but the number of arguments are different, right? So that's the concept of your method overloading. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to delete all of this here, and I'm going to create another class. Let me just quickly delete this. We don't need this because so we have seen method overriding. So for method overloading, what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a simple class. I will call it as add sum. This class has just one method, and it has two parameters, a and b. So and I'm going to print the sum of a and b. So this is a simple class where I have a simple method. I'm going to print the two numbers, right? So let me quickly create a object for this class. So I'll say, let's see, add one new, right? Add sum. And if I check this add one dot, I will see this add method. So let me pass two values, 10, one is 10, the other is 20, right? So if I execute this, okay, 10 comma 20. So if I execute this particular method will be called, and is going to print the data, which is the addition of two numbers, 10 plus 20 is 30. This is a simple concept. You have a class, you have created a method, and then you call this method, right? This is something we have been doing for some time, right? Now what I'll do is I'll create another class here, and I'll call it as add sum sub, and this is going to extend add sum, right? Now I'm going to use the same methods, right? Okay, so if I do this, you have a green symbol here, it says override. Why it is overriding? You have the same method, you have same number of arguments, right? That's why it is override. So what if I change the number of arguments? So instead of 2, I'm going to say 3, right? Now you see this green symbol, it disappeared. It's no longer an override method. So this is an overloading concept. You have the same method, however, the number of arguments are different. Here you have 2 arguments, here you have 3 arguments. And what you can do here is, instead of creating an object for this parent class, I'm going to create an object of child class, right? And then I'm gonna add. So I'm gonna say add one dot add. You can see two methods here, one is parent, one is child. So you can basically create a you can basically check the sum of two numbers, and at the same time you can check the sum of three numbers. So this is very useful concept, something that we use more than your method overriding, but both of them are a simple concept. So let me execute it. So add one dot add, where you have two arguments, it will take this function. When you have past three arguments, it is going to take this method, and you see the addition of this two or three numbers. So this is the basic concept of your method overloading. So we have seen overriding and overloading, very similar to each other. You have the same method in both cases, but in case of overriding, the same method and same number of arguments. So you have the same method here. If you have two arguments here, you should have two arguments in the subclass. That is your overriding, and you specify it here. You use a keyword override to specify this method is override. Overloading is a little different, where you have the same method, but you have different arguments. If you have two arguments here, you will have three arguments here, or one argument, four, whatever it is. It's different than what you have in the parent class. So that's the method overloading. Now, in this example, what I have shown you, I have created a class, I have extended another class, right? Methods are same. So this I have written for you to understand it in a better way. But now when you write a code, the better way to do is to have those same methods in the same class. So we don't need another class. So you can basically put this method here. I'm going to remove this class. So you have a simple class and I'm going to extend this class, right? Now, if you see, the code is a lot cleaner. You have one class, and within that one class, you have multiple methods. So you can have as many methods as you want. So if you want to add four numbers, I can do this, right? You want to add five numbers, you can add another method with five arguments. So you can have this under the same class. So it is a lot easier, right? So if I go add one dot, you will see, if you want to calculate sum of two numbers, you can use this. You can, for three you can use this, for four you can use this, right? So that way you are not creating additional code, but trying to reuse the same class that we have, and you can create it under the same class. So that's how we can clean up the code. So this program will now execute, and you can see here we have three options here. As you can see here, we have three output. One is for addition of two numbers, this is for addition of three numbers, and this is for addition of four numbers, right? So this is the concept of your method overriding and overloading. So this is the concept of overriding and overloading. I hope this was clear to you guys, and I'll see you guys in my next class.